workday can be broken up into 4 sections: after clock in, before lunch, after lunch, and before clock out. The day is cut in half by my lunch, and then into quarters by the 2 15-minute breaks. I can play a game in one section and then write about it in the following segment. Then, after work, I can record the audio when I make it home. It's brilliant. I can maximize my game input and optimize my video output. Welcome back to another video here on Mummified Games. I'm Tony, and today we're taking a look at another 5 web games. Because work has been real slow, and there's only one thing to do when you're bored at work: play video games! One thing I should let you know is, since I was so sleepy, I might have been slow to see something, so just keep that in mind. I may also have been fighting to stay awake while playing these games. That being said, let's get into it. A Kishoyu Tenketsu in the Countryside by Remi Tutada. Okay, so you know how I said in Anodyne that I wish there were more little secret holes and breaks in the walls that let you unlock special things? Well, in Kishoyu, this game, it's all about finding those secret little things in the world and finding the secret path they don't want you to use. In this game, you run around a map Atari style. You move blocks and find secret paths through the woods. Hunt down 4 or 5 keys, can't remember, and you'll unlock the final area, where you put all the tricks you've learned into one giant area. A great way to teach you what each mechanic does and then apply it to the final zone. The game ends when your character gets home. Game over, roll credits. Would you like to play again? It's super short and so is this review. Give it a go. It's a good game. Chess Mix by Keith Bergen Games. In this one, you play to understand the quote, real world, end quote, of chess, where the pieces just want to party all day. All they know is listen to music, eat hot chip, and lie. The pieces all move like how regular chess pieces would. Your knight is the main mover of the game. This one goes around and picks up all the chips all over the place. The goal is to collect as many cool points as possible. How does one do this, and what is the most optimal way of getting as many as possible? Nobody knows. The game tells you to keep picking up chicks. The game tells you to keep picking up chips and to rack up as many points as possible before the party ends. But the number of turns left on the clock doesn't show a clear indicator as to how much time is left at the party. It's just a clock that says morning. Even if the party ends at a certain time, there's no clear designation as to how long a turn is. How much time I have left till this level ends. I don't get it. Did I win? Why is it that no matter what, on the first level I always get 3 out of 3 stars, but every level after that I only get 1 out of 3 stars? And the game doesn't give you an X out of Y score or X number of points to the next star. You're just left in the wind about what to do and what's best about the game. The whole crutch about the game is hard to understand, while the movement is easy. And what makes it worse is that at level 4, when they introduce the soda machine, the web version crashes about halfway through the level. So that's cool. There are items that you can collect and equip, but honestly, why bother at this point? All the details about what makes this game fun is lost on the fact that they tell you nothing about it while the game is going on. All I know is to collect chips. Do I get more points if I stand in the dance circle? Who's to say? Luckily, there is a description of what the items and skills do in the game. Some of the items are fun. I like the glasses that give you more points if they're worn next to a wall. Play it if you have it, but don't expect to put a lot of time into it. I'll say it any day of the week. Trans rights are human rights. Starting off, I'm going to say this. I understand that no one's perspective about life is the same as others. There is no way we can understand perfectly what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. Being a generally healthy cis white male as I am, I don't have the same perspective as someone who might have to deal with being trans or having to go through this process. So I may not have the exact same experience, but trying to put myself in Arlie's shoes, I can see how you might feel like nothing is going right, and you have to take drastic measures that you think will get you to where you need to be. The game is about you being a therapist and having a patient who is coming to you so that way she can start hormone replacement therapy and start the transition to better fit her self-image. The game tells you that it's your job to assess your patient and make sure they won't regret transitioning. That's what the text of the game asks of you. But the text info your character gets in the sessions isn't that informative for you to assess these things. It's a matter of, well, I'm sure if this was a real situation, we would be able to hash things out better and I could come to a conclusion without the need to resort to these heavy implications. Meanwhile, what's sort of hinted in this game and what's not said in the therapy sessions, Arlie is flat broke. She has no support other than a friend that means well, but their help will hurt Arlie. So you make a series of decisions over 3 therapy sessions, and the game ends in a spectrum of endings from super cool to yikes. They boil down to essentially 4 different endings. By the way, spoilers for a 10-minute game. The best ending. At the end of the first session, you give her the prescription to start HRT and send her along her way. She only had to sell half of her video games to afford the therapy session, and she still has all of her pets. Better ending. At the end of the second session, you give the green light, and she starts the process of HRT. She has no video games, but she's still happy and has her pets to keep her company. Sad ending. At the end of the third session, after she confronts you about this taking over 2 months, she wants the prescription already. She doesn't have anything left. You do give it to her, she starts the therapy, and then goes home to an empty apartment. She sold all of her belongings to afford the therapy sessions she needed to get to this point. She's happy about starting this process, but she has nothing in her life. Worst ending. Saying no 3 times. Arlie has nothing left and storms out without paying. You never see her again, though in the story between sessions, it implies that she went with her friend to a feed store and bought some hormone drugs meant for animals, and also implies that she might have done some dangerous at-home medical work on herself. The game congratulates you in a cold way that's meant to make you feel bad about following the text of the game. The game tells you that you didn't take this job to make friends. You took this job to make sure people like her didn't hurt themselves. Obviously, this is a cold bit of sarcasm from the author, clearly drawing lines from the idea that your character is meant to make sure some people don't make mistakes, when it's the actions of your character that has directly caused someone to make drastic and potentially deadly mistakes. I say this again. I don't believe that I'm one to comment on, let's say, the truthful reflection this game is trying to show off to the world. Yes, I agree that the situation presented in this game is a possibility, and there might be someone out there that feels like this is exactly how their life is going. I personally feel that the message being told in this short story game is too big to be condensed in such a small package. And by doing so, it feels like it's hard to find the words without sounding dismissive, but that's almost how it feels. Reductive. That's the best word I can think about it at this time. It's like that hypothetical argument about countering immigration, and someone asks, there's a bowl at a party and a few of them might be poisonous. Do you still eat them? The hypothetical answer is to say, well, no, I wouldn't eat from that bowl of possibly poisoned Skittles. But as John Oliver and I think a few other late night hosts have responded in the past, okay, but are those Skittles people? Then yes, I would help them out no matter what. The game, saving yourself from yourself, feels like someone posing this hypothetical, and my reaction to the game is a bit dramatic, don't you think? But when it comes to the idea of this being a real situation that can and very likely will play out with more people, my reaction is to just give them the stuff they want. Stop being silly and just do it. You've come to me to ask to start this process that you've already probably put a lot of time and thought into. This isn't a drunken tattoo. You probably have been ruminating on this for a while. My answer to this game's quandary is to simply not let it get to this point. Why should we be forced to be put in a situation like this to begin with? Framing this problem from an American perspective, we should just have programs and laws set up so everyone can get cheap or free physical and mental health care. Don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again if it's causing more people to die or seriously hurt themselves. Definition of insanity and all that jazz. Go play this game. It takes 10 minutes of your time. Zepton by Rez. Okay, so last web games video, I talked about Galactic Wars, a 2D shoot 'em up game. Well, today we're going to be talking about Zepton, a 3D shoot 'em up game, a la old school Star Fox. This game shows us exactly everything hard to work around in a 3D rail shooter like this. The game is hard to control. There's a bit of jello in the controls. The ship will turn to fly in one direction and then start going that way. It lags behind, and since that's also how you aim and shoot, along with dodging incoming shots, it's a bit of a struggle. The guns don't feel great either. There are 3 weapons in this game: the normal machine gun, a tracking bomb, and a death laser. You use them while holding X, Z, and both X and Z at the same time, respectively. And since this game is so reliant on just throwing as many bullets down the lane at once, you never lift your finger off of X, so you're stuck mostly using the machine gun and the death laser thing. Even though the bombs lock on once the reticle turns red, the bombs travel so slow you won't be able to tell if you actually did it. And since you don't know if you dropped the alien ships, you probably would have just been better staying and holding the machine gun to begin with. Oh well, it's just a video game. If Not Us by UB4Q. You read the story of 4 heroes as they deal with something to deal with their leader not making it some years ago. I did not get that from the game. This is an interactive fiction story where you're essentially playing a visual novel, but worse. Instead of reading what comes up in a little box and clicking to advance the story, you have to hunt down where to click next. A certain spot, or word in a phrase, or even the whole phrase. The game opens with an image that shows the characters you can read about. The first person you play as is Zephyr, and boy howdy, is it a choice that the first person to help intro the story to the viewer is the person described as not the best talker. The first words being shown on screen are of another language. That leads into a choose your own poetry about some sort of fight or battle. The background showing some sort of blood-spattered canvas. And you know what? There's a lot of stories that start in media res. Maybe the part of the game that explains what's going on will be the next part. The next part, you're left to read one side of a conversation when some bad person gets captured and someone interrogates them. You learn that the bad guy that's been captured is going to come back in 10 years, and that they would rather come back in their 20s or 30s, not have to go through the whole adolescence thing again. I have no idea who this is. I have no idea who they're talking to. The person you're in control of can ask lines of questions based on certain things they say. In the paragraph, 2 different sections will be bold and underlined, like vocab words from a school textbook. Hover over a vocab word and it will show you what kind of question you will ask the person. Your contributions consist mostly of things such as, yeah, and what do you think? We'd spare you? Or what do you mean? The kind of vague responses that don't tell us, the reader, about the one doing the interrogating. So we gain the info that there was a bad person that will come back and that they were part of a crew or something, and a lot of fluff about the character not enjoying being a kid. That's about it. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's talk to another character. Maybe now that we've got to the end of this section, we can go back and unlock another character. Nope! My game broke or something. Towards the end of the second character's conversation, the vocab words just disappeared, so I couldn't get more info or anything about this or who it was. If you want to try to hunt down what this story is and what's going on, then sure, go right on ahead. So there we go, another 5 games you can play directly in your web browser. If you're looking to kill some time at work, then maybe give these ones a try. Maybe give them a whirl. I can't say if you're going to have a blast while playing them, but you know, it is what it is. I know I sort of ran the gamut of what a game can be about or what a game can be, but if you played any of these games, let me know what you thought about them. Or if you haven't played them, were there any other web games that you've played recently that you want me to talk about? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. In the meantime, like 3 lobe carb monsters in one shift are obviously not good for me, but what's the worst that could happen? I make sure not to drink any after 12 noon. That way it's out of my system before going to bed. But really, I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. You all crack open a can of YouTube dance. Like, sub, hit the bell, comment your thoughts, and share and tell someone you know about these videos. It all helps a lot. And as always, friends, keep digging. We'll make it out sometime. See you in the next one.